Hey guys, happy Friday. Okay. How's everybody? So I see that it worked. Looks like I'm live in a couple of places. Okay. Let's say a quick prayer. Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for all of us here. Thank you for all of the patriots on the front lines. Thank you for all of our white hats that are fighting hard. I pray for everybody's safety. I pray that you bring people together, people unite, and find each other so that they can find strength during these times, these uneasy times. We know things are going to get worse. We pray for strength. We pray for safety. We pray for all of our families. We pray for comfort for those that have lost loved ones. And for those that are ill, we pray for healing. Father God, give us wisdom, give us insight, and give us strong faith. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay. So let's get started. I didn't have time to organize the whole thing, guys. I was so busy today. I just was going everywhere. So Sue Ballard shared this. Looks like they're like in the news, aren't they? The Clintons. I'm telling you, it's like a hazard to, used to say, don't be friends with the Clintons because it's kind of a hazard. Billionaire financier Thomas H. Lee, 78, shoots himself dead inside Fifth Avenue office. Envy of Wall Street Harvard grad and friend of the Clintons, was worth approximately $2 billion. A billionaire financier and investor was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at his office in New York City on Thursday. Thomas H. Lee was confirmed dead in a statement released by his family. He was 78. Police responded to Lee's office at 767 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan around 11:10 a.m. His firm, Thomas Lee Capital LLC, is located on the 6th floor of the building. Lee, a Harvard graduate, had a net worth of roughly $2 billion at the time of death, according to Forbes. The financier struck gold in his career by acquiring mid-sized companies, restoring their worth, and then selling them for wild profits. And his technique and success at the time was described as the envy of Wall Street. His leveraged buyout deals were legendary in the 90s, pioneering financial transactions, which allowed his company in some instances to produce more than 30-fold gains in a matter of years. Police found the billionaire's body at the office. EMTs pronounced him dead at the scene. Lee's official cause of death will be determined by the chief medical examiner. Family spokesperson Michael Strick released a statement about Lee's death on Thursday. Family is extremely saddened by Tom's death. You know these guys that they say, oh, they were suddenly so incredibly successful. That's the good old boy club. The Skull and Bones. They all give each other jobs and anyway, okay, we got a lot going on here. Let's look at this because this is interesting. Lara Logan says, this is true. I know they had to bring in contractors at one point to address the cartels. Was told it was because most of the FBI was focused on parents at school board meetings and so on. And from June 2022, over 40,000 people at Facebook are working on safety and security, more than the size of the FBI, and they're all spying on you through iOS.
Facebook is taking action to keep its platform safe. Over 40,000 people are working on safety and security. That's more than the size of the FBI. $16 billion was spent in the last 6 years. Enough to to build 7 pro stadiums. More than 40 million people are using Facebook privacy checkup each month. That's nearly 60 times the population of Washington, D.C. And they're doing all of this to keep people on the platform safe. Facebook is taking action to keep its platform safe. Over 40,000 people are...
Okay, so that's the video, and Michael Ray Corey says, and they're all spying on you through, says TOS. Somebody says, wonder how many of them work for Sinaloan drug cartel. See Maricopa Senate Elections Committee testimony. They can know who is family with who and threaten and bribe America. Wow. Okay. White House official is blasted after sharing tweet Biden showered with his daughter. White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates found himself facing backlash on Wednesday after sharing a tweet containing a video posted by an account that was mocking President Joe Biden. Bates reposted a video featuring White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre that was originally shared by Greg Price, a former social media coordinator for the Daily Caller, who now serves as a senior digital strategist at X Strategies LLC. However, prior to Bates sharing the video, Price had briefly altered his account name to Joe Biden showered with his daughter, causing his name to appear under Bates' post. In addition, Bates, who retweeted Price's original tweet containing the video apparently without noticing Price's account name, the Daily Caller noted, from Joe Biden showered with his daughter. He called himself, if you remember Elaine Chao, she was the head of the Department of Transportation when there were these types of chemical spills. No one was calling for her to be fired. There's been a lot of bad faith attacks on Secretary Buttigieg. Biden showered with his daughter. That's funny. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, this was shared by, I want to make sure I give credit. The Ohana Group's an amazing group. So this was shared by Joe8958. New Moderna entered a patent license agreement with the U.S. government that includes $400 million catch-up payment and royalties on future sales of COVID-19 vaccines. Isn't this a conflict of interest? Received $400 million in COVID-19 vaccine royalty payments from Moderna. God. Let's go to the actual article. Moderna said on February 23rd that it recently reached a patent agreement with the U.S. government over disputed technology that is featured in its COVID-19 vaccine. In December 2022, Moderna entered a non-exclusive patent license agreement with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease and CFO Jamie Mock during an earnings call on Thursday. The agreement lets the company use certain patent rights concerning stabilization, prefusion, coronavirus spike proteins, and the resulting stabilization proteins for the use in COVID-19 vaccine products. Under the agreement, Moderna sent a catch-up payment of $400 million to the NIAID before the new year, according to Moderna executives. We have agreed to pay low single-digit royalties on future net sales of our COVID-19 vaccines. NIAID and its parent agency, the U.S. National Institutes of Health, did not respond to requests for comment. The Epoch Times has filed a Freedom of Information Act request for the agreement. NIAID was headed for decades by Fauci, who retired around the end of 2022. The disclosure means the government was paid shortly before telling a court that it, not Moderna, should face a lawsuit over patent infringement. NIH says wrongly left off patent. U.S. government researchers were wrongly left off of a patent filing for a key sequence that's part of the vaccine, according to government officials. NIH scientists were working with Moderna for 4 years on vaccines for diseases before the pandemic started. After COVID-19 emerged, the NIH and Moderna collaborated to develop the COVID-19 vaccine, both parties have said, but the messenger RNA sequence was selected exclusively by Moderna. Scientists using Moderna's technology and without input of NIAID, scientists were not even aware of the mRNA sequence until after the patent application had already been filed. NIH officials and Moderna were negotiating of the matter when Moderna said in a patent application that it reached a good faith determination that government scientists did not invent the messenger RNA sequence. The scientists were named in several related patents, but not the sequence ones. Moderna changed its stance in December 2021, announcing it was abandoning, at least temporarily, its pursuit of the sequence patent. Moderna has taken the action to allow more time for discussions with the NIH. Moderna believes that its scientists invented the specific mRNA sequence at the heart of the patent in question. The company acknowledges that NIH feels equally strongly that its scientists should be listed as co-inventors for their death shot. Idiots. Okay. So Tessie sent this to me. Toxic chemicals incoming. Apparently, the water's on its way to Houston. Toxic wastewater from Ohio train derailment.
So I got this link sent to me this morning. I didn't even believe it. I thought it was a joke. We've been talking about this Ohio catastrophe that is not affecting just Ohio people. It is spreading its wings all the way up to Canada, all the way down to Florida, people are saying. We're finding out that the water is questionable. Well, how would you feel if they were tanking up all of that toxic water cleanup and bringing it to your state? You know, the stuff that they said, it's fine. Move back home. Don't worry about it. Yet everything in the creek's dead. Wait till you hear this. More information you guys should know coming right up. Welcome to Riverside Homestead. My name's Cohen, and if you're brand new here, welcome to our awesome community. Out here in the tiny house today, where we do lots of prepping tips, emergency preparedness how-tos, and I also give you guys the news that could affect you like this. So if you find value in stuff like that, be sure to hit that notification bell so you guys can stay up to date. Let's jump into this one. Can you imagine turning on your morning news? You're like drinking your coffee and like, well, what's going on? Are they cleaning it up yet? Did the president finally go over and visit Ohio instead of giving all of our money away to another country? And instead, you find out that they're bringing all the toxic chemical waste to your state, to your town.
Reporting on the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio for weeks.
And now we have confirmed hazardous wastewater collected at that site is being brought right here to the Houston area.
How would that make you feel?
Brittany Jeffers is live in Deer Park to explain. Brittany, good morning.
It's different than the kind of acts of imagination that go with fiction, because history actually happened.
And good morning to you. Well, yesterday, Judge Lina Hidalgo vocalized several key points, but three specific concerns involving the health and safety of workers who would be transporting this, as well as what was being injected and why. And we also learned some more from Judge Lina Hidalgo yesterday, telling our KPRC2 crews that some of that firefighting water is already here and more is expected in the coming days and weeks. Now, the judge calling this a serious breakdown of communication, and she said that she and other leaders would have liked to have known beforehand that this was happening. According to Judge Hidalgo, that toxic wastewater was used to extinguish a fire following the train derailment in Ohio on February 3rd. That water is being transported by a company in Deer Park called Texas Molecular. And according to the judge, about 500,000 gallons have been transported to Harris County, and about 2 million are expected in total. But Judge Hidalgo says that she has a lot of questions.
No kidding. A lot of questions? I would think so too. and no heads up on this was happening. Well, haven't we seen that before? Because no one had any heads up when they decided to light the whole thing on fire, in a time and era where we're worried about all of the emissions. So how does that kind of thing play out? I bet you everything that they put into the air would be the equivalent of all of the toxins in our entire country over so many years accumulative. The whole thing, if you look at it with a brain, makes no sense. And before we move on, what is your guys' take on that? Do you think that they were trying to light it on fire to get rid of the evidence? Maybe we know what was in it. Maybe we don't know exactly what was in it. Because most of the time, we're just going off of reports. Whatever it says it is, well, that's what it was. But how can any other outside official confirm that if they didn't test it themselves? Just a crazy thought. And I'm sure if they had to seek approval for this little move they did, it probably wouldn't have been approved. So hurry up and light it up. Why do you guys think that they were so quick to light it up? Another theory that I've heard is, they talked about opening up the railroads because they needed to get shipments in and out. So was there some other stuff that needed to come through the railway that was really important, maybe bigger than everything that we're thinking about? Maybe war-related chemicals? And one other interesting thought, a comment that I read in our comments, someone mentioned that there was a tank building facility very near there. Now, I don't know if this is a military base, construction type of corporation factory, but what they had said is that they were building all these tanks and had all these tanks to send over to where. And some people are questioning are these events related to that place and that location? Is there a hindrance being played at all of these tanks and artillery type things being sent out? Just a thought. So what are some of these concerns? They're talking about bringing down upwards of 2 million gallons, probably a lot more. What are some of the concerns about this?
There are three major concerns. First, the concern about what exactly is being injected into the injection wells and what kind of chemical reactions there might be. The second concern is about the human health from the transport and the health of the workers. Third, the concern about why this water is coming all the way to Texas.
So I'd say that the judge has some pretty realistic questions. I'm sure there's a lot of Texans out there that are not super impressed with this.
Now, Judge Hidalgo also says that her office has looked into Texas Molecular's record on safety, and she says that it is strong. Deer Park's mayor, Jerry Mouton Jr., says that his office was aware of the material and had no concerns about the handling and disposal of the water. The mayor added that Texas Molecular has done this safely for 40 years. Of course, this is an evolving situation that we will continue to monitor.
So this is a hot topic that's going around out there. I don't know if it's going to hit mainstream media. Now, a lot of times, a lot of these little smaller towns, smaller cities, their news agencies, they cover some of this stuff. But when it comes to getting to the mainstream media, it doesn't get there. And there's a lot of people concerned on how this whole event is being handled. Let me inject. I know a lot of you people out there want to support people in Ohio, the people that are having to deal with this that don't have a lot of options. Some of our awesome community kindly have sent some support options. I'm going to put those down in the description below in case you want to help out. Also, I know a lot of you are concerned about this stuff getting in your water and getting in your body. I just did a video yesterday on a really good SGS certified type of water filter that you guys can use. No, I know a lot of you guys said you have Berkey black filters. Now there's some other good filters out there that claim that they can get the vinyl chloride out of the water. Not all of them have an SGS certification with that. So if you already have a good filter, just double check its capabilities. And most filters out there that
So actually, Desi reminded me that Mike Adams had actually tested a lot of different water filters, and I'll see if I can find it. I know Alexa Pure, I don't know where it ranked, but it was one of the top for removing a lot of stuff. It removes 99.999% of 206 contaminants. So it would be interesting to go and see what all he was. I think he was testing glyphosate and different poisons like that. So we'll just have to see where it lines up. Okay, so this was shared by Swamp Fox in the Ohana group. Oh, guys, this is so horrible. But we got to play it.
25% of adults over 65 have lost all their teeth from receding gums and decaying teeth.
Can you imagine her mother, brother, sister seeing this? And they basically sprayed them. They can't even see. Are they throwing stuff now to get back there? Or trying to stop them from spraying them? Bon Rose sent me this.
Yeah, you see that? Netherlands. So we got Italy, we got Netherlands, we got Ohio, we got Michigan, we got Washington State, we've got Louisiana, we've got Texas, we've got Florida. All trains, all burning toxic chemicals. Ha. Nah, not a coincidence. Couldn't be. Nah. Yeah, it's just a coincidence. Yeah, we'll go with that. Don't eat the cookies!
Unreal. So, here's another one.
This is Dahl Arnson with the Alaska Patriot Network. I am visiting California, and I am here with one of the local ranchers. And I was brought out to this field in Stanislaus County, California. And this is the center of like the heartland of the nut industry, the almond industry, the pecan, or not pecans, I'm sorry, almond, walnut, cattle. There's not a lot out here, folks. And yesterday we were at a gathering and we were alerted by another rancher that the railroad company, some company that nobody knows which company this is, has brought in hundreds of these railroad cars. And you can just see the line of them here. Let me see it, make sure I'm getting it in the shot. Sorry. Getting this in the shot. Now, on the cars, they say odorless liquid petroleum gas. Now, they are loaded. They're riding low on their axles. They're double and triple deep on this switchback. And this is important because these ranchers, this is unprecedented in this area. No, none of them, they're like, what the hell is this? Why are they bringing this into the, heart of nowhere? I mean, unless you own land here or you're in the know-how, you don't know that this is here right now. And like I said, this is just the end of this line. I'll make sure I'm getting these cars in here. And it goes on for miles. There's hundreds of these cars filled with an unknown liquid in the middle. Now, what's significant about this is just over, a few miles over is the main water pipeline that goes into San Francisco. This also abuts two important agricultural rivers that feed this agricultural valley. So we don't quite know what's going on here, and it was the talk of the valley yesterday.
He says he's not done. He's not finished what he started. And that's...
Where'd that come from? Hang on. Okay. All right. Wake up, America.
We seem to be at war domestically, and this is one of the oldest tricks in the book. This is what kings and queens have done for thousands of years when they would divide and conquer a country. You would take out the water, and you would take out their food supply first. Since 2020, over 100 farms have been burned in our country. Just 2 weeks ago, a farm out west was burned down with 100,000 chickens. Isn't it funny that in East Palestine, Ohio, a train derailed with toxic chemicals that spilled out into our waterways? And again, we have had another train derail. I believe it's been 5 trains that have been derailed in the past month. Who is doing this? Is it domestic terrorism? Is it another country? Or is it our own government colluding against us? Well, we need answers, and we need to find out, because at this point, America, we're at war. And I don't know if anyone actually realizes that. So you need to protect yourselves, and you need to get ready, because you're about to not have food or water. What if this happens in your town or your city? Then are you going to stand up for the truth? Are you going to stand up for your country and what red, white, and blue really stands for? Is we the people. Are you going to let these clowns overtake you? Huh? Are you going to let them destroy your family and everything that you've built? Well, I'm sure as hell not going to. So you need to stand up, America.
That's strong. So go to preparewithtcp.com, and that will take you to my Patriot Supply. Couple things. So one thing that Mike Adams, I shared this about 3 or 4 days ago, he talked about the sprouting seeds and microgreens, and this has a whole thing with all these seeds, will protect you from the dioxins. And that's amazing. He basically did a whole video on that. Then also go to the Alexa Pure Filter. I know that ranked very, very high when he did he tested all of the filters next to each other. And so it's on sale. It's still almost $100 off. The next thing you need to go to, besides food, is potassium iodide tablets, anti-radiation tablets. Get yourself some of these, okay? Looks like they discounted them $5 for radiation. So those are the 3 things I would say that's important to do. Okay. I forgot to play this the other night, so I'm going to play it.
When you look back at American history, there are certain presidents who stand out as the greatest of all time. They're in a league of their own. George Washington, the founder of our great nation. Abraham Lincoln, the president who saved our country during the Civil War, ended slavery. And Ronald Reagan, whose strong posture brought down Soviet communism.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And now, as of yesterday, the media has added a new name to that honorable list: Joe Biden. The moment he stepped foot in Ukraine, everything changed. In the blink of an eye, he went from Jimmy Carter to Abe Lincoln in the heat of the Civil War. Here is the New York Times. Since Abraham Lincoln rode to the front lines outside Washington to watch battles in Northern Virginia during the Civil War, no sitting president has gotten that close to combat. Didn't Bush and Obama fly into Iraq and Afghanistan during combat operations? I'm no military historian, but those trips seem kind of dangerous. I think Biden would himself disagree with the New York Times because Biden said he's been on helicopters in Iraq that have been shot at.
Let's start telling the truth. Number one, you take all the truths out, you better have helicopters ready to take those 3,000 civilians inside the green zone where I've been.
Look at him. The guy we have, the houseplant, is not this same guy. Look at that mean look.
7 times and shot at. You better make sure you have protection for them or let them die.
Yeah, he's been shot at in the green zone. Ukraine was nothing for Joe. And Biden's Ukraine visit is already taken on a life of its own. Rachel Maddow said Biden charged up Hamburger Hill.
It's a surprise and an astonishing thing for us to see and for people in Ukraine to see. I mean, at base level, this is an active war zone in a part of that country that gets hit by Russian missiles all the time. Seeing the American president there walking the streets of Kyiv while air raid sirens literally sounded in that moment about possible incoming fire from Russia, it's just not something you ever expect to see.
It has to be.
They probably played it right then. Have I played this, or did I watch it by myself, or did I play it and I'm playing it again?
There was no incoming fire from Russia. We told the Russians ahead of time Biden was going to go so Russia wouldn't make any mistakes. So Biden got the pictures he wanted. The symbol of an American president in Ukraine has been immortalized. Biden announced another $500 million also, bringing the grand total to over $100 billion in the last year. Remember, Biden and the Democrats fought like crazy to stop $2 billion for going to our border wall, but just poured $100 billion into securing Ukraine's border. No love for East Palestine, Ohio either.
With the president being in Ukraine today, did that surprise you?
Absolutely. That was the biggest slap in the face. That tells you right now he doesn't care about us. I found that out this morning in one of the briefings that he was in the Ukraine giving millions of dollars away to people over there, not to us, and I'm furious.
So Biden's heart is elsewhere. Joe Biden has fallen in love with Ukraine.
The America stands with you, and the world stands with you. Kyiv.
Okay. I can't stomach anymore. He's in love with them because they're lining his bucket. Right? Okay. I want to play, this is Ice Mountain 17. And this is what banks, governments, and federal law firms hope you never discover. Mortgage fraud scam exposed.
Free.
I'll always take care of you.
And that the banker returned the actual cash value. Is there an agreement between Mr. Smith, the borrower, and the defendant?
Yes.
Do you believe the agreement includes a lender and a borrower?
Yes. I'm the lender and Mr. Smith is the borrower.
What do you believe the agreement is?
We have the borrower sign the note and we give the borrower a check.
Does this agreement show the words borrower, lender, loan, interest, credit, or money within the agreement?
Sure it does.
According to your knowledge, who was to loan what to whom according to the written agreement?
The lender loaned the borrower a $200,000 check. The borrower got the money and the house and has not repaid the money.
Do you believe an ordinary person can use ordinary terms and understand this written agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe you or your company legally own the promissory note and have the right to enforce payment from the borrower?
Absolutely, we own it and legally have the right to collect the money.
Does the $200,000 note have actual cash value of $200,000? Actual cash value means the promissory note can be sold for $200,000 cash in the ordinary course of business.
Yes.
So, according to your understanding of the alleged agreement, how much actual cash value must the bank loan to the borrower in order for the bank to legally fulfill the agreement and legally own the promissory note?
$200,000.
Okay, so according to your belief, if the borrower signs the promissory note and the bank refuses to loan the borrower $200,000 actual cash value, would the bank or the borrower own the promissory note?
Well, the borrower would own it if the bank did not loan the money. The bank gave the borrower a check, and that is how the borrower financed the purchase of the house.
Okay. Do you believe that the borrower agreed to provide the bank with $200,000 of actual cash value, which was then used to fund the $200,000 bank loan check back to the same borrower, and then agreed to pay the bank back $200,000 plus interest?
No, if the borrower provided the $200,000 to fund the check, there was no money loaned by the bank, so the bank could not charge interest on money it never loaned.
Okay. So if this happened, in your opinion, would the bank legally own the promissory note and be able to force Mr. Smith to pay the bank interest and principal payments?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot answer legal questions.
Well then, is it bank policy that when a borrower receives a $200,000 bank loan, the bank receives $200,000 actual cash value from the borrower, that this gives value to a $200,000 bank loan check, and this check is returned to the borrower as a bank loan which the borrower must repay?
Well, I do not know the bookkeeping entries.
I'm asking you if this is the policy.
I do not recall.
Okay. Mr. Banker, do you believe the agreement between Mr. Smith and the bank is that Mr. Smith provides the bank with an actual cash value of $200,000, which is used to fund a $200,000 bank loan check back to himself, which he is then required to repay plus interest back to the same bank?
I am not a lawyer.
Did you not say earlier that an ordinary person can use ordinary terms and understand this written agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Banker, I'm going to hand you back the bank loan agreement. This is Exhibit B. Is there anything in this agreement showing the borrower had knowledge or showing where the borrower gave the bank authorization or permission for the bank to receive $200,000 and return the check back to the alleged borrower as a bank loan check? In your opinion, did the bank loan $200,000 to the borrower?
In that case, no.
So if a bank customer provides actual cash value of $200,000 to the bank, and the bank returns $200,000 actual cash value back to the same customer, is this a swap or exchange of $200,000 for $200,000?
Yes.
I'm confused.
Okay, so did the agreement call for an exchange? or swap of $200,000 to be swapped out for another $200,000, or did it call for a $200,000 loan?
I'm going to have to kind of think about this a little bit. Did any of you get it? Because I'm just more confused. Oh, was I frozen? Okay, well, I'm a little confused. Okay, so a couple days ago, I was pretty mad about somebody who took a swipe attack on the revivals going on. Said this particular person said that. Okay, hang on, because I'm gonna get on camera. So this particular person had said that the revivals were not real, because that they were actually fake, and that nothing really was going on there in Asbury and all these other places, and that because these kids had been vaccinated, that they had the mark of the beast. So there was no way that they were going to be, revived. And I was just furious. And I talked about light workers. Let me tell you where the light worker thing comes from. And I want to take that back, because one of the people that really grounded me during this whole time that I was scared through this whole thing was and I played a lot of her stuff before, Lori Ladd. She's a beautiful person, just a beautiful being. And she calls herself a light worker. So I got to thinking about that statement. I was just mad, and I feel horrible for actually saying that. But there are light worker groups, and when you go in there, they are not of the light. They are not of the light. There's a lot of witchcraft in there. So I think there's like a double speak on that particular term of light workers. I think there's true enlightened people that are working, and then there are those that are not. And we have to be so careful, because we have a lot of people that are actually parasitic, and they're getting a lot of money from people who think that they're going to save them and do things for them. And so, all of a sudden you see people sending them 5, 10, 15, 30, $100, trying to get these special favors, so to speak. So I just wanted to take that back, but I want to go ahead and play a clip by Lori Ladd. She is just a beautiful, beautiful
Good
person.
morning, everyone. So there are two energies that I have been.
And she comes from always with a really good message, and always with, grounding people to be able to navigate this whole thing. So I'm just going to play a little bit of her, because she is most definitely somebody that I've always liked. She's very calming. Her voice is calming. Her message is calming. And so if you don't know who she is, I'm just going to play a little bit of it. In fact, in 2020, she had done this thing, this deal, and there was supposed to be event 2020, and really it was pretty amazing. I stayed up for it, and there was something really different in the sky. It was like there were 2 moons or 2 suns. It was pretty unbelievable, and I stayed up for that because she was sharing a lot of that.
Good morning, everyone. So there are two energies that I have been feeling lately that I want to share with you in case you're feeling it as well. And you know that you're not alone or you're not crazy. So here's the first one. There is a deeper inward journey that we're doing. And because we've been doing this inward journey for so long, right now it's a softer approach to the inward journey. So we're continuing to observe our thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, emotions. And we are watching how our thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, and emotions are creating our life, are creating the choices that we're making. And we're becoming curious, right? So there's this softer inward journey, or maybe it's a rough inward journey, but it is a constant inward journey right now. You cannot turn away from what is happening inside of you. The second thing that's happening is we're starting to look around, or continuing to look around, and feeling not part of this world. I am not saying that you are disassociated or out of your body, bypassing. You are deeply in the body. You are feeling everything. You are seeing everything that is happening on the planet. You are embodied. And yet simultaneously you are walking around just not feeling like you fit in. Like kind of like you're an alien. And this kind of separation, even though we're not separate, is getting larger and larger. So if you're feeling any of these two things, you're not crazy, you're evolving.
Remember that video I played that said that the hardest thing was to be, and it was actually somebody who called himself a light worker, that it was the hardest thing was to be so aware and see so much of what's happening, and yet some people are still asleep in our families, and we're just sitting there praying for them because they're not vigilant and praying for humanity. So I think that's pretty much what she's talking about. Okay, so there is something I used to talk about all the time. If you go to 024zone.com, these are essential oils that I have used since 2006. They neutralize poisons. My son got stung by 2 scorpions, and when he was a child, and it totally neutralized, never reacted. When he got stung by a bee and it was huge on it, his hand was huge, it went down within minutes. I've used it. I'm so accident prone. I'm always bumping myself, getting bruised, cutting myself. I mean, you name it, walking into walls, getting big bumps, and they go down. This stuff is like miraculous. And I don't make money from it, but everyone needs to have this in their medicine cabinet. We have no clue what's coming. So they do have the little bottles also, but here's all these testimonials. It's a German guy who formulated these. There's no fillers. It's just pure essential oils. Okay. Where are we going next? So this is also from Santa Sophia's Locals Group. And nuclear weapons sent into space were destroyed by extraterrestrials, USA Air Force Colonel Lauren Diedrichson says. Now the Pentagon would have us believe humans in brightly lit spacecraft have been destroying weapons and deactivating nukes for decades. All roads lead to Galactic Federation. So I'm trying to figure out if they're being sarcastic in this or not. And the reason I say that is because Lori Ladd, the lady I just showed, had somebody that talked a lot about terrestrial beings. And he talked about how they weren't going to let us blow ourselves up with nuclear weapons. And there had been an attempt at one point to deploy one, and it didn't happen. Like something got wrenched inside of the nuclear weapon and they weren't able to do it. So when I saw this, I went, oh, that kind of reminds me of that.
A couple of nuclear weapons sent into space were destroyed by the extraterrestrials. In talking to various contacts throughout, they would allude to the fact that these did happen. There was, for example, the Minuteman missile, which destroyed the launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's now a public matter of record. The one incident, for example, was they actually photographed the UFO following the missile as it climbed into space and shining a beam on it, which neutralized the missile. And this was recorded. It was all hushed up, and they split up the team that observed it. But, of course, eventually the news came out, and it was later published and confirmed it. The very end of the 70s or the early 80s, we attempted to put a nuclear weapon on the moon and explode it for scientific measurements and other things, which was not acceptable to the extraterrestrials.
And what happened?
They destroyed the weapon before it got to the moon. With reference to the incident which our government sent a nuclear weapon for explosion on the moon's surface, it was tended to, as I understand it, to assess some scientific data and reaction and so forth. The idea of any explosion in space by any Earth government was not acceptable to the extraterrestrials, and that has been demonstrated over and over.
Okay, so that part I believe, but I don't know about the moon, okay? Because we know that was kind of debunked. Well, not debunked by everybody, but when you look at this stuff, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, who was videoing while who was taking pictures while people were on the moon? Anyway, none of it makes sense. Okay, so let me get what did I just do? Hang on. Okay, got to figure this out. Hang on. Come on, get back up there. Okay. So Desi sent me a video by Lee Merritt, and Lee Merritt is talking about the fact that, oh wait, what's this one? What you need to know about buying produced in Ohio, right? Foods produced in Ohio right now. Is that a different one, Desi? No, that's Dr. Lee Merritt. Okay, that's the one I'm looking for. And then there was another one that we'll end with. That looks like it's a good one. Okay. So this one's by Dr. Lee Merritt, huh?
Going to tell us things that aren't true, that cause people to panic. Sounds just like COVID, right? They get people to be afraid, and then they take things from them: their liberty, their land, their ability to get clean food. I ran down here to make this podcast so quickly I forgot my glasses. So everyone's running around with their hair on fire about what happened in Ohio with this train crash, and I want to give you the rest of the story, or at least what I believe is going on, because I don't believe this is the ecologic disaster, nor do I believe it's a disaster for the local people like everyone thinks. Now, that is not to minimize that there could be some short-term, very local damage, okay? And my heart goes out to anybody that's been inconvenienced or injured by this. However, it could get a lot worse if we buy into hysteria that's not justified, because look at what they're really after in this whole thing, in my opinion, is to take down our food supply and our land, and it's a land grab, okay? Because they're going to tell us things that aren't true, that cause people to panic. Sounds just like COVID, right? They get people to be afraid, and then they take things from them: their liberty, their land, their ability to get clean food. So let's just go back in time a little bit. What I first did is I actually looked at, wait a minute, nobody's telling me exactly what are in these tanks, okay? So what are actually in these tanks? Well, I looked that up. And let me just read to you what actually was there, okay? Because this is important. And so what I did is I looked at what's in the tanks. I looked at the chemistry of the items that's in the tanks, what we know from the EPA and from, toxicology, biologic impact studies, and then what this all means, what's really going on here. And I'm going to tell you one thing that Scott Kesterson brought to my eye that I think puts it all together in motive. Okay. He's the motive master, I'm telling you. So here's what I discovered. There were 4 tanks, 4 carloads of vinyl chloride. Now, vinyl chloride is not polyvinyl chloride, right? Vinyl chloride, though, is a volatile liquid or a gas it goes back and forth, right? But they didn't leak. Okay, there's no vinyl chloride in the ground. There's no vinyl chloride anywhere because they burned it. All righty. And when they burn it, it releases 2 chemicals. It releases phosgene and it releases hydrochloric acid. There was, my friend living 80 miles away smelled the acid in the air, smelled the acrid air. So yes, there was acid in the air for a couple of days, but that disperses. As long as the smokestacks aren't spewing out acid, we don't have acid rain, we don't have acid forest damage. It's just a very short-term event, okay? Sprinkle some basic lye on your ground or something, it's not a big deal. By the way, phosgene was a World War I gas, so you wouldn't want to be in a closed area with phosgene for very long. It's potentially deadly, right? But they only used it like in the trenches because it in big open areas, it disperses. It's not effective. So that's the second. So that was 4 cars. One car had ethyl hexyl acrylate. Okay, the car was penetrated, but the amount leaking is unknown, thought to be small, and in any case, it's not particularly toxic. Okay, it's not going to be a major issue. One car was isobutylene, and it burned with no leakage, and no significant environmental damage or concerns that I can see with that one. Okay, these are things that just go up in smoke, just like you burn garbage in your backyard. And oh, by the way, what do you get when you burn garbage in the backyard? A small amount of dioxin. We're going to talk about that later. One car had butyl acrylates. Now, this is what spilled and caught fire spontaneously, and this is a potential problem. This is a major leak, but at some level, it's toxic. Okay. But they're testing the water down the Ohio River, and they're finding that it's rapidly dispersing. It's rapidly diluting to the point it's not going to be a problem for long. Now, it is the kind of thing, by the way, so this chemical, this butyl acrylate, is one of those chemicals that doesn't really mix with water. It's not real miscible. So you see a slime, you know how you can see an oil spill? You see that multicolored kind of rainbow, very thin film on the top of the water. That's what this is going to give you. So you'll be able to see it at some dose, but not later on when it gets down in the water. And it doesn't do bioaccumulation. It breaks down, the sunlight breaks it down, and when it gets into the ground, it gets biodegraded. Okay. Yes, it's going to be taken up in plants a little bit and animals, but it's not, the world has great regenerative powers. Okay. So it's not going to be the long-term issue. The next one is, in my opinion, the big one is ethylene glycol. Okay, ethylene glycol is antifreeze, right? And some people die, animals and children die because ethylene glycol is sweet. They ingest it and it kills your kidneys. And there are, by the way, there are antidotes for this. You can, and I can't remember the name of it. I wasn't an emergency room doctor, but there's something they give you in the emergency room if you had ethylene glycol poisoning, right? It kills your kidneys in 2 ways. It can oxalic acid crystals, oxalate crystals can mechanically damage the kidneys, and then you can have the direct toxicity of glycol. But here's the thing you need to realize, that it doesn't get up in the atmosphere. So the only reason to have this caused any animal death would be that the animals were actually going and licking the ethylene glycol off the ground. Okay, so don't let your kids or the local deer population go and lick the ethylene glycol. Okay, that's really, it's not something that gets aerosolized. And let me just point out, and by the way, if you don't have an antidote and you got into it, drink alcohol. Believe it or not, ethanol is one of the antidotes. But here's the point I'm going to make. Guess where we use ethylene glycol? Every plane that you take in the winter is de-iced. And what do they use for de-icing? Ethylene glycol. They spray it on the wings. It goes down off the wings. It gets onto the tarmac. It goes out into the local area. It causes some damage locally, right? But we accept it because it's a risk-benefit analysis. And that's what we're not doing here. We're not looking at the risk-benefit analysis. Now, ethylene glycol, in my opinion, is probably the most toxic of the things that were in there. Although, I'm not pretending to be a chemist, but I do know how to read a little bit of chemistry and kind of understand what's going on here. Now, phosgene. I was going to say something about phosgene. Okay, phosgene degrades. That's the one by hydrolysis, it forms 2 things, carbon dioxide and hydrochloric acid. So it's going to go away. All this is going to go away. Now, I've heard people talk about dioxin, okay? And the problem is, where's the evidence for that? Yes, I can believe there's a little bit of dioxin being created because they burn something. You burn your trash in your backyard, you create a little bit of dioxin, okay? By the way, you use Clorox bleach. When I was a child of the 60s. I'm interested in being green, okay? So when I had kids, I didn't use paper diapers. I used bio bottoms. And I put cloth diapers inside, but I did not bleach them. Why? Because dioxin is made, Clorox will, in the environment, break down to dioxin or Agent Orange. And dioxin is a family of chemicals. It's not just one chemical, but that is the truth. And so anybody that's so worried about a little bit of dioxin from this fire, do you use Clorox at home? I bet you do. So let's all take a step back. My advice is let's just see what the big play here is. This was pointed out to me by Scott Kesterson, and I think this is a big, in fact, you can listen to his podcast from last night, but he called and we were talking about this today. He used my audio from my Telegram where I put some of this out, and I'm going to tell you about what he said, but go to his podcast. It's Bards FM. It's on Podbean, and listen to what he says, because he's, like I say, he's the master of motive deconstruction. And here's the point. He takes it back to December of last year. What happened in December of last year? December of last year, the Amish farmer that had been, was he put in jail? I can't remember, but they fined him. They wanted to shut down his farming. Why? Because he was doing clean farming. He wasn't vaccinating his animals. He was doing raw milk, homemade stuff, good beef, good clean raised beef. And he was actually making money doing it. And so they can't have that because, in warfare, ultimately it boils down to calories. And the Bolsheviks finally took over the Soviet Union by murdering the most productive farmers. Okay, they couldn't do it elsewise. And what we see right now is coming after our farming. They're taking down our chickens, claiming avian flu. They want to vaccinate all our cattle. Well, but the problem hit, like Scott pointed out to me. This lawsuit in December that he won says you cannot be forced to vaccinate your cattle. Okay? Now, so what is this? How does that relate to this? Where is the smoke? Where is the pictures they have of where this smoke is going to, the fumes from all this is going to drop? Now, be advised, most of the fumes are going to dissipate before they get there, but nonetheless, they're going to tell you this fumes are going to go and it goes down into some of the most productive farmland, the Amish areas. Okay. They're going to hit the Amish areas. They're going to hit anybody along that way. And they're going to come and tell you, oh, you can't farm your land because we're from the EPA and we know that this stuff dropped on your land and you can't farm it. Don't believe them. The way we get our lives back is we get out of the system and we stop believing the hysteria demonstrations that they put on. Now, we should not be happy about this. Don't get me wrong. The people of the town in Ohio, Palestine, they should be upset. There were a lot of problems, and I don't know if the railroad is complicit with the deep red faction in this whole thing about taking down the world, but they sure helped with this. Okay, this train was enormously long. It was like over a mile long, not as toxic as they would have you believe. And by the way, without vinyl chloride, you don't get plastics. You don't get half our clothes. You don't get anything. There's a good point to chemistry. I don't really want to go back to being a troglodyte in a cave where I have to spin my own linen out of sheep's yarn, out of sheep wool, But, as some people do, but I don't want to do that. So I appreciate modern chemists, but we have to use them appropriately. And you cannot use them to poison our people, but you also cannot use them as a scare tactic. You see, this again is a scare tactic. And they're coming after your farmland. Don't let it happen. Understand that it's a scare tactic. You don't have to understand the chemistry, but you have to understand how to ask questions. In other words, when people are running around talking about dioxin, where'd they get that? Did they measure it somewhere? The answer is no. It's all speculation. Okay. When they talk about, I want to know. No, I'm not saying there weren't some animals dead, but I want to know some firsthand people that report that, because we have a picture of a Dayton, Ohio crisis actor call that happened just before this. We have the movie White Noise 2 or 3 years ago, or however long it was, that predicted this, that showed this in the same area in Ohio. Okay, the big cloud, the big black cloud with electricity in it, and people were, getting sick, and everybody had to run, and they're telling the professor in the college that he's going to die sooner than later just because of this. Again, we don't have any data to prove any of this. It's just a movie right now. Don't let them destroy our world because of propaganda. If we should have learned anything from COVID, it's that without the facts, you don't go running off with your hair on fire and take some stupid vaccine, right? We learned once, we should have learned once, but we're doing it again. So don't let them do that. That's my message to you today. Let's all take a big breath. Let's calm down. Let's listen to let's actually look at what is there and what's left and what we have to do about it. Now, the people in the town need to have some compensation and some help. because just this publicity damaged them. Just this fear damaged them. And that's the last point I'm going to make. I'm a member of Doctors for Disaster Preparedness, and 10,000 people died in Fukushima. Now, we tried for years, the executive director, Jane Orient, and other people in the organization tried for years to convince local EMTs, the emergency management people, to take on these little pocket dosimeters. These are little things you put in your wallet, and then if you're ever in a nuclear disaster, you can know whether or not to flee or not, because you can look at this and see if you're being irradiated. It'll tell you on a real-time thing. It's a simple little piece of paper. Nobody wanted them, right? Nobody wanted them. Then Fukushima happens and they confiscate them all. Now, what happened really in Fukushima? You had 10,000 people die. How many people died of radiation? Does anybody know? I know. 0. They can argue about a couple cases of late radiation damage maybe, but nobody died of acute radiation poisoning, or even late. They haven't proven late radiation poisoning, because that wasn't the problem. Why did so many people die? Because it is very deadly to dislocate people, to give them fear, and to move them out of their domiciles, out of their homes. You know, Japanese people, they don't move. Once they have a home, they're there for generations, right? So the fact that they got suddenly rousted out in the middle of the night or whenever to get out of there and go into a camp or whatever they put them in, that's a very deadly event just in of itself. Okay. The same thing with Chernobyl, the little town outside of Chernobyl. They didn't die of radiation poisoning. They died of translocation. In that case, I think it was like 3,600. But they always exaggerate these things, and the fear is itself damaging. So keep that in mind. Everybody keep a cool head. Let's take a step back. Let's realize this is being run by the psychopaths that gave us COVID. Oh, and look, I'd like to look and see, kind of like the DeMar Hamlin NFL stuff. Do we see any jackets with 33 on them? You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, be chill. Let's just all be chill. Thank you very much.
Wow. So what is the real reason they're sending that water over to Houston? I don't quite know what to think. Okay, Desi sent me this. Desi, somebody shared this. I want to give him credit. I'll share it at the end after I play it. Let's go. Call your dog's name when they're right next to you.
Riley. Riley. Riley, come here.
Bentley. Bentley, where are you? Come here. Bentley.
Oh, what the hell?
Conan. Where's Conan? Conan. Conan. Conan.
Molly. Molly, come. Molly, here. Molly, here.
The heck?
Molly, here.
You play?
Come. Molly. Here. Where are you?
What's your problem?
Molly.
Where are you looking?
Molly, here. Molly. Molly, come. Molly. Molly, where are you? Come here. Molly, here.
Cody. Cody. Come here. Cody. Cody, wait now. Come. Cody. Cody. Cody, come, good boy. Cody. Why not? Cody. Cody.
I'm going to try that.
You're here? You're here?
Contact.
You're here, good Bear! Bear!
Biscuit. 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 Where's Biscuit? Come on, Biscuit. Biscuit. Copper. Copper, where are you? Copper. Copper, where are you? Copper. 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 Copper, come, come, come. Copper, come, 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 come.
Callie. Callie, come here. Callie. Callie, come here. Callie. Hi.
I'm about to try.
Ricky.
Ricky.
Richard. Richard.
Look at that chicken.
Ricky. Ricky. Where are you, Ricky? I don't know where he is. Richard. Ricky. 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 Ricky, where are you? Ricky.
Okay. All of the videos will be in the description. Oh, before we go, let me just show you like, share, and subscribe to Rumble. You're just going to go to Rumble. If you have a channel, great. If you subscribe, then when I think it sends you an email. So search Third Culture Patriot, no spaces. Click enter. And then if I'm live and I go down and it's not working, then what you'll do is you'll click on that and it's going to show the latest. And so like, share, and subscribe. So let's grow the channel. And if you're watching me on Rumble, you can go to Facebook and look up the page TCPQ and follow that page. And I really want to get our community. We need to find everybody again. We had such a wonderful community. You guys were so great at supporting each other and, helping and praying for each other. And so now that things seem to have changed on Facebook, like literally they had me shadow banned where none of you could share my lives or videos. And something changed in the last 5 days. It literally went from 800 views over a couple days to 4,400, guys. Something changed. I think they got scared because of what's happening with Twitter. And about a week ago, I accidentally had YouTube on and they slapped my hand for a week. But because of what happened with Facebook, I'm kind of wondering if maybe as of 5 days ago, YouTube might have stopped. So I tested it. If I get slapped again on the channel, then we know YouTube hasn't changed. But didn't someone step down recently? Anyway, on YouTube, I'm Third Culture Patriot as well. But I do have a locals that I created probably 8 months ago, and I didn't know how to work it. And it's thirdculturepatriot.locals.com. And I think that we might be able to get our community back together there. There is also a group on Facebook, Third Culture Patriot. You want to contact Desi Carruthers or Maida Koch or Michelle Ackerman or Sue Ballard. You'll see them commenting in the description, and for them to add you into that group. I don't know if you have to be friends, but we do have those groups as well. But once again, I really would like to get us all back together. So start sharing my videos again now that something's changed. I mean, we'll see. And let's see if we can't find everybody again. Okay? I'll see you guys probably tomorrow night. If not, we'll put up a notice. Oh, and last thing, there's a messenger group for live notifications when I go live, and it's Third Culture. Is it Third Culture Patriot, Desi? on Messenger. If you want to be added to that, again, contact one of the people that I mentioned, Mida Cock or Desi Carruthers or Sue Ballard, Michelle Ackerman, Tammy Winfield, who's amazing. Oh, I'm forgetting to tell you about Telegram. Okay, Telegram, always look for Third Culture Patriot channel or Third Culture Patriot chat. And all of you share unbelievable stuff in there. So there's a lot shared on Third Culture Patriot chat. Third Culture Patriot channel is where I post, and it automatically shares over to the chat. All right. See y'all tomorrow. Good night, everybody.